What is going on, guys? Craig 1287 here, and Valve has announced their third and final announcement for the week. Of course, there will be smaller things coming out over time to give us more specifics, but the third big, reveal announcement has occurred, and it is the Steam's controller. Right now, just called the Steam controller. Not sure if that'll be the final name, but it is the controller that will be coming out, and it is not exclusive to the Steam machines or Steam OS. You can use this on Steam even if you're on a Windows PC or a Mac or Linux or anything of that sort. And it is very interesting. At first, I was a little hesitant, as you should be, and you still should be hesitant. I mean, this is a very new thing, and this is very different than a lot of the controllers that we've seen. So I will have a link to the third announcement page provided in the video description below. And it's mostly just I'm guessing that first image that they show of it is the final form that will be going out as the prototype. With the 300 that they send out with the beta testers that are testing the Steam machines. And obviously that could change. Actually, there's a photo later on down the page that shows the one that they'll be getting for the beta instead of the instead of the LCD touchscreen that they're going to be having in the center of it. There's going to be 4 physical buttons, and instead of it being a wireless controller, it's going to be a wired USB controller. So that's what's actually going to be going out to 300. But in terms of the image shown, I don't know if that'll be the final thing that we the consumers get, or if during the beta testing, they get word that you should probably change the location of this button and things like that. So check those images out. Again, the one at the very top is kind of just like a artist rendition or something. It doesn't look like it's an actual photo. And then scrolling down to the very, very bottom where the Q&A section is, and there's a photo of what will be going out with the 300 beta tester products. So let's get into some of the actual details that they start talking about. One of the things that really amped me with this and made me just feel much more at ease is one of the very first things that they talk about is complete catalog. The Steam controller is designed to work with all the games on Steam, past, present, and future, even older titles in the catalog, and ones which are not built with the controller in mind, will support this controller. They just kind of add a note in there saying, we've fooled these older games into thinking they're being played with mouse and keyboard, but we've designed a gamepad that is nothing like either of those devices. So basically, they've just gone and made it so every game on Steam will think that these are inputs coming from a mouse and keyboard, but are different. So that's cool. I like that. I mean, other third-party software has done that, but again, this is not a third-party software. This is going to be something that is straight from Valve. So when you're playing on Steam, it's all first-party, straight-up support and things like that. So it's nice to see that. Then they start talking about the actual performance. Now, this is just marketing talk for the most part. Obviously, we can't get our hands on it. I will have a link below of some of the developers. They flew on out to Valve's headquarters and did get to play with the controller and whatnot. So I'll have a link to that as well. But personally, I can't tell. I can't say for sure on the performance, but they do talk about having low latency, high precision, things like that. So if they follow through with that, then that will be a good thing. Now let's start getting into the real interesting aspects. The dual trackpads. Instead of having 2 analog sticks, the typical locations that are on the PlayStation controller, where you would have the analog sticks, you've got these gigantic trackpads, and they're talking about how they've got some real advanced trackpad technology so that they're real sensitive. They are going to be clickable, similar to how you can click the thumbsticks down, so that does turn them into buttons. I don't know, it doesn't sound like from the grammar that they use, from the words they use, that different locations that you click would trigger different buttons. It seems like just the entire trackpad, each individual trackpad is a button in and of itself, so they would be 2 buttons. And there's a little reference to Euro Truck Simulator. I don't really I don't really get the reference there, but they do talk about how these trackpads would be good for things like Euro Truck Simulator, simulation games that require a lot of inputs, things like RTS games, strategy games, things like that, that they will work well, that these trackpads are designed to work well with those sorts of typically PC-centric titles that have mouse and keyboard support, that they are supposed to work well with them. And judging by the size of these trackpads, they look to be big enough. So that might actually be possible. And they say that the resolution, the precision for these trackpads are similar to a lot of gaming mice out there. So that actually is very good to hear. That does help the level of precision. Then they go into the haptics section, talking about the the haptic feedback, the rumble, and they talk about how typical rumble things, is just a weighted, piece on a thing that spins really fast, and that's what causes the little rumble feel. How they're actually going away from that somewhat. I've reread it a couple times, and it's hard to get a real honest, accurate description of what they're talking about until we see like a video of this and then can actually feel it ourselves. But they talk about using a sort of weighted electromagnets that are attached to each other on both of the trackpads, so you'll get haptic feedback on each of these trackpads rather than in the handle parts of the controllers. Since these are trackpads, you're not pushing on an analog stick that gives you real feedback from pushing and leaning on that thumbstick. So that's their sort of way of giving you that haptic feedback on a trackpad, is these weighted electromagnets. So it'll be interesting to see how that holds out. If they can really pull through, I mean, by the looks of it, allowing precise control over frequency, amplitude, and direction of movement, it sounds like they're really going all out on this. So that's really cool. And one little line in there towards the end of this haptics section, in talking about the feedback behind those trackpads, says, as a parlor trick, they can even play audio waveforms and function as speakers. So yeah, that's very vague, not very specific as to how that would function and work, but that is interesting. Then it talks about the actual touchscreen. This is there in the center of the controller between all the YX, the B and A keys, and the trackpads themselves. So this is kind of like what we've seen on a lot of Razer products, that we've seen on the Razer Blade, their laptop that they've got, and some of the Razer keyboards that have this kind of LCD screen that can change based on the game. You plug it up, it might be a mini map, it might be an inventory section, or a thing where you can scroll through your inventory or your menus, or it could actually turn into maybe 4 different buttons of if you're playing an RPG or something like that. Each of the 4 corners of this thing could be designated as different skills. So it's a very dynamic screen, and it'll be clickable as well as those trackpads. So that's very cool to see that they're doing that. Hopefully that is not going to increase the cost of this controller too much. But yeah, very interesting read just there about the touchscreen. Very cool that they're going to be implementing that. And again, it's all about getting that implementation. If you come out with this cool feature, but developers just don't, they don't capitalize on it and they don't do it, then it's just snowball effects into it just falling off the face of the planet. So with this being something that Valve is doing through Steam, hopefully they'll keep getting people involved and constantly come out with the new ways and cool ways of implementing this touchscreen. Then they go into the buttons and how they're going to be very customizable. There's even going to be a little software config checkbox where you can just go into Steam and check that, and it makes it so that it's good for left-handed individuals. That's very cool. I know a lot of people that are left-handed always had trouble with having the D-pad always being on the left side of the controller, where D-pads are rarely used, and typically it's the ABXY, triangle, square, circle, X. Those are more used, but they're left-handed. So that's really cool to see that Valve is adding that in. And then they start talking about these shared configurations, to where it's kind of how you can get onto the Steam Workshop. You could go on to this Steam Controller Workshop, or whatever it'll end up being called, and you'll have, for like older games, you can go through and people have like their own custom layouts for for this game, I like to use this button for this and this and this and this and this and this for all this. So, and it'll show it all laid out, and you can kind of pick that and use that as, I like this guy's bindings. Let's use this for the game. Granted, you can do it yourself, or you can try to find these, and I'm sure they'll have a vote feature, and some of the best, well thought out layouts will be voted to the top. Then they go into the openness. This is a very awesome section. I'm just going to go ahead and start reading this. The Steam controller was designed from the ground up to be hackable. Just as the Steam community and workshop contributors currently develop tremendous value via additions to software products on Steam, we believe that they will meaningfully contribute to the design of the Steam controller. We plan to make tools available that will enable users to participate in all aspects of the experience, from industrial design to electrical engineering. We can't wait to see what you come up with. This is awesome. I love that. That's the common theme of all three of these announcements that Valve has kept. Steam OS is going to be, hackable software-wise. You can do all the different things that you could do with the typical OS and hack it to your heart's content. The Steam, the Steam machines, they're like typical PCs. You can customize them. If you get one that's this, hardware setup, you can now upgrade it and give it better hardware, a year down the line, 2 years down the line, things like that. And you can even get rid of the Steam OS. You can dual boot. You can get a Steam machine and run Windows on it, or Linux. And so, and then same with the controller. Hardware-wise, software-wise, they're going to be, fully supporting people to hack it, take it apart, make additions. And this being Valve, I'm sure that they will seek out the best versions and, implement them into their software and hardware down the line. That's an awesome thing. And then they've got some Q&As, not as in-depth a Q&A that we saw for the Steam machines. Typical questions like, do I have to use a controller? No, you don't have to. Things like that. That's pretty much it. And then they do talk about how next week they're going to be going and posting detailed specs for the living room OS and prototypes. So we'll probably see what the Steam machines hardware are going to be for the 300 lucky people that get to use that. So that's pretty much it for their three announcements. Now we'll just kind of have discussions that are going on the Steam Universe community group that's on Steam. Keep checking that. Every now and then, if you're bored during the day, go check there, see if any of the Valve employees have responded there. And I am amped about this. If they can make this device, this gamepad, you can get this separate as long as you're using it on Steam. You could be on a Windows PC or anything like that. So I'll definitely check this out because I like to use the gamepads for racing games. Typically, all other genres, fighting, platformer, RPG, first-person shooter, third-person shooter, things like that. I'll still use a mouse and keyboard, but with this thing, I'll use it for racing games, probably some platforming games here and there, side-scrollers, who knows, if the implementation is good. And if they can make this thing at a price point that is equal to the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 controllers, holy crap, this thing is going to be seriously competitive for that thing. I mean, it's got these dual track pads that the tech seems to be there. They've got an LCD screen in the center of it that is, dynamic, customizable to the game, fully tailored to the game. Oh, one thing that I didn't mention, they said for that LCD screen, when you are using it, they'll have a feature to where a screen will pop up on your TV screen or your monitor, and it'll actually show what you're looking at. So you don't have to divert your eyes too far from the main screen you're looking at. I'm sure this will be a toggleable feature that you can turn that off if you don't want it to be up on your screen. But when you start to put your thumb, on that screen and move around to scroll through a menu or cast certain abilities, things like that, there'll be an option to have it pop up on your screen. So that's very cool. So I mean, if this thing has got so many features packed into it with just awesome tech and things like that, with the haptic feedback, things like that, if they can get it at a comparable price point or equal price point to the PS4 and Xbox One controllers, this thing is going to be a hit for sure, as long as it feels comfortable and things like that. So guys, check out the article when you get a chance. It's a great read. Valve, you guys are doing some risky things, but I really hope the best for you, and I hope these things have a ton a ton of success, and that these are game-changing, industry-changing things that we see happening, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line. Hope you guys have enjoyed the gameplay going on there in the background. Have a good one. Ta-ta.